Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what is happening and how are you doing? How's your podcast coming along? I want to say thank you, and I truly do mean thank you so much for being here this week. I am Chris, and I am from the original Chris and Christine Show podcast. You can find that at chrisandchristineshow.com. There's a link to it into the show notes of this episode. But here on Podtastic Audio, where I have designed this show only to help you design your show. You see, more than just your show notes, more than just your content, more than just all of your thoughts and ideas of things you're going to talk about on your podcast, whatever your podcast is all about. Listen, you can do your show however you want. More than all of that, I think it's very important to have decent sounding audio for your audio podcast. You see, I love audio. I love it probably on another level. I wouldn't consider myself really an audiophile. I'm not quite there, I would say, but I do appreciate fine audio. And if your show has decent sounding podcast audio, it will automatically escalate the quality of your show over about half of the shows out there, because a big majority of the podcasts out there, especially the independent podcasts like yours and mine, they have subpar audio. Now, I know today I'm back in the regular studio, and today I'm using the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's so good to be back here in this room. Audio sounds amazing. This Rodecaster sounds amazing. Everything is up and sounds great. I love it. But if you do not have the best equipment, let's say you don't have a good gear or even a decent microphone at all, let's just say all you have is, say, maybe one of those teleconference, headphone sets you plug into your computer. You maybe have a phone call with. Remember back in the day, they used to have these headsets. I call them like the phone operator headsets you plug in, kind of before like the gaming headsets, took off. They still have them. You can buy them at the store. I actually have one around here somewhere. The audio quality is absolutely horrible. I mean, it sounds like a phone call because basically it's like an old-fashioned like telephone receiver kind of doohickey, and you plug in your computer. And you can make Skype calls or whatever kind of calls you want to do back in the day, or any kind of phone call, really. You can do that. Or you can use decent microphone equipment. Now, if you do not know already, I also run a small business where I actually build podcasts for companies and for clients. And when I say build podcasts, I'm talking about from the ground up, from the artwork, from helping them choose a title, content, and even physically recording their show for them. Now, how is it even possible to even do that? Because a lot of these podcast editors, under quotation marks, can't see me doing this, I'm doing quotation marks right now, they will have you record your own audio somehow, somewhere, and then physically drop it off to them via some kind of email drop-off system, like whether it's a Dropbox or some kind of file sharing system, and then they will go to work on your audio, and then chances are they're not even in the same country as us. So you got to deal with that stuff. And they'll work on your audio, do their magic, and then send it back to you as a finished file MP3. But what I do is I physically will sit here and actually record the audio for my clients and have all of them done live. Probably because my whole thought about podcasting, when I think about this whole stuff, I really think about it in like the live radio format. That's kind of the way I record stuff. And it's kind of the way I think of podcasting. I know you can really edit a podcast however you want. You can make it a narrative style show where you're constantly slicing and dicing and inserting clips and effects and every single thing and changing the interview around, or even not having an interview, or however you want to do it. It's really your show. Do it however you want. I prefer my shows, the shows that I make and even the shows that I listen to be very natural, have a natural conversation, have good chemistry. You see, having good audio with good chemistry is a win-win. It makes it more entertaining. It makes it more engaging. It feels natural. It feels alive. So just this week on my client's show I recorded for them, it sounded fantastic. Not only did it sound good with horrible equipment they came to me on, I was able to make it sound great because I'm just that good, I guess. Also, they were able to have really good chemistry between the two of them or three of them. Actually, there was four of them that I think about that were on that show together, and it made them all sound fantastic. But I think that's something you really cannot edit in. That is really good chemistry and the timing. Here is a sample of the most recent episode I did for my clients. Take a listen. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
It really wasn't a battle of the wills of two men. It was, you go ahead and explain what it was, Dan.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Who's
not a battle between two men.
Who do we play with?
Oh, we played with a couple of suppliers, Victor Packaging, Weiland,
great guys,
and BJ Ferris.
Great guys.
So it was the battle between four men?
No, it was still two men, but it wasn't our normal, Rocky, Apollo Creed in the ring battle. We had other people with it, so I lost. You know what? I could say I lost.
It was a TKO.
Whoa! Now let's hold on now there, buddy.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything.
No, you said a lot. What are you talking about? You brought this up. I wasn't going to say anything. You wrote in pre-production. You wrote the notes for this podcast, and you weren't going to say anything.
No, you what? I'll show you my list of things to talk about, and it's not even on there. I don't know what you're saying.
Look for the one that's highlighted Dan Mayweather.
No, the one. The one that says banana in a tailpipe.
So, as you can tell, it sounds very entertaining, and it sounds like they've got really good chemistry. Obviously, they know each other, they work together, so that helps a lot. Even the fact that none of those guys on that show, in that clip, none of them were looking at each other. There was no video conferencing going on. They were not in the same room with me. We were recording the entire show, audio only, live, as I normally do. That's how I do the show. But the point is that it sounds really, really good. And those are the things you cannot script into your podcast. You cannot do that. If you write out your entire podcast like a script, it's hard to really do that unless you have some really good actors that are really following along with the script. Maybe you're one of them, maybe you're not. I don't know. But having really good chemistry really does help create an amazing podcast. So as I record this episode, we're in the middle of June, and June means big time summer movies at the box office. It is like the best time of the year to go to the movies is because they release all the amazing, great blockbuster movies during this time of year, June, May, some in July too. So being that it is the hottest time of the year for blockbuster style of movies, you know what? I decided to have Shanel from the Nerd in Texas podcast swing on by. I bought her a plane ticket on her first class private airplane, flew her all the way over here to San Diego from Texas to talk all about movies and what her podcast is really about. Did you know that she actually does solo episodes on her podcast? Yeah, it can be done. People do it all the time. I don't know why you or your friends have to do a joint episode or have guests all the time. You can do solo episodes too. It's okay. It's okay to do a solo episode. Listen, I'm doing a solo episode right now. So while we got Shanel waiting in the green room today, I'm going to see if we want to play our Guess This Movie game with Shanel. She isn't a movie expert. You would think that she'd figure out these movies pretty simply. So here's what we're going to do. When we get her in here, I'm going to ask her what movie is playing. You can play along too at home and keep score and see if you can guess what movies these are too. So we're going to have some fun. Here she comes right now. Here is Shanel from the Nerd in Texas.
I'm doing good. It's awesome to be here.
It is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for flying all the way over here. I mean, I know first class. Was that okay for you? You know?
Oh, it was perfect.
And how was your drive-in from the airport? Was Joe the limo driver today? I forget who you used today.
Yeah, it was totally Joe. He was super nice, super fun. We were laughing the whole way here.
That's great. You know, he's tried to crack up some jokes, man. That old Joe, man. He's quite a character. Well, thank you once again so much for showing up today. I really, really appreciate this. So how's the weather been in Texas? You guys been seeing some heat or what?
It's actually fairly been good, like for this time of year. It hasn't been bad, but it's starting to creep up there. So coming here to California in the perfect weather was like, I could tell everybody back home, like I can brag about how the weather is.
Yeah, so you get some fish tacos, maybe swing by the beach. What are your plans when you're staying over here?
Well, you're in San Diego, and I'm like, don't really go to San Diego that often. So it'll be cool to visit San Diego. And then my brother lives in Huntington Beach, so I'll just drive up there, say hi to my brother. We can ride our bikes on the beach and stuff, and then just visit the usual spots before I go home.
That is fantastic. It's so great. So your podcast is Nerd in Texas. Now, what made you decide that name of a show?
Honestly, I don't know. Just the fact that Texas is football, right?
You would think so, huh?
Yes, it is all football. I live in a small town in Texas where it literally shuts down when it's Friday. Friday. Have you seen Friday Night Lights?
I've heard of it. I'm aware of it. That's college football. No, that's high school football, right?
That is high school football, yes. And a lot of it was filmed in the small town that I live in. And it is, when it comes to football, it is pretty accurate. Like towns shut down,
Are you guys in a dry city or dry town where you no alcohol served on Sunday, things like that?
Yes.
No way.
We're not like in a dry town because we do have dry towns where no alcohol is served at all. Like you cannot get alcohol anywhere. But I am where we can't get alcohol on Sundays before noon.
No way.
Yes.
That's just nuts to think about.
The other thing I love about California is if you go to a grocery store, there's liquor in the grocery store. There is no liquor in grocery stores in Texas.
I heard about that. Yeah, it's a dedicated liquor store, right?
To a liquor store, yes. And so, they have liquor stores next to grocery stores. That's kind of like their loop around, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that, you go to a grocery store here and there's no alcohol.
Well, see, I don't really drink that much, so I'm not too worried about that much. But we got liquor stores in every corner around here for the most part, and all that great, wonderful. So, but you guys have gun stores in every corner over there, I heard in Texas, right? Like everybody has a firearm in Texas. You're born with a firearm, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. And what's funny is there's this little shopping center down the road from my house where it's a barbecue place. It's got donuts. It's got a gun shop. It's a tattoo shop. There's a brewery. It has one-stop shop for all your Texas needs.
Guns and liquor. Actually, there was a store around here that had guns and liquor. It was kind of I don't know if it was a running joke or what, but I can imagine guns and liquor is probably not a good combination to have. But
no, not really.
I could see a store popping up and may pop up in Texas.
Yeah,
so.
And I'm fortunate enough to where I live on 50 acres. And
50 acres?
Yeah,
dude, that's like a start of Disneyland.
Yeah, pretty much. I live on a ranch that's got 50 acres, and we have a pond, and the pond dries up every year. So we will have parties and family get-togethers or whatever, and all my cousins will bring their guns, and we'll get tannerite, and we'll just blow stuff up in this dry pond. And so
that sounds about as Texas as I've ever heard in my life.
Yes. I try to keep my Texas down a little bit, but I love to also talk about my stories. But yeah, so that's why it's a Nerd in Texas, because I'm literally a nerd here in Texas. And when it's all football, or if you're not a cheerleader, if you're not this, you're kind of labeled a nerd, and you're kind of I got picked on at the school in here when I was in high school. So that's kind of where it rooted and started.
Oh.
Yeah.
So being that, are you super smart, or are you just into things that are not the typical macho Texas stuff?
I wouldn't say I'm super smart, but I do have weird little things that I know because my dad passed away when I was 18, but when he was alive, he had the History Channel on 24/7. So I have this weird knowledge of history. I hate math, but he also was that type of guy that sat on the couch and watched movies over and over again. Back when we had VHS.
Oh, I remember those days. I grew up the same way. We didn't have cable. We didn't have we had 2 channels that came on the TV. So we had a lot of VHS tapes, and we just watched them over and over again. Yeah, I get it.
Right. And then you had the little like rewinder thing that made it rewind faster. So like I was the kid that like took the VCR because I was the younger sister, took it out, put it in, rewound it, put it back in, and he'd like watch it again. And those were the movies that were like Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
all the
Lake
good ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Lake Placid, like Jurassic Park. The one movie that I probably know word for word is Tombstone because he watched that movie like over and over again. He was a
Nice.
Western guy. He was a John Wayne Western
you
guy.
guys are in Texas. I mean,
Exactly.
You know, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So your podcast, it's Nerd in Texas. So what is the kind of things that you like to talk about on your show?
Really, I just like to talk about movies, TV shows. Sometimes I'll talk about Fortnite. Sometimes, and if I do, it's just a little bit like the new updates or whatever that's in it. My original plan was to talk about books, and I haven't really talked about books that much, but I have some book podcasts lined up that I'm going to be working on.
Nice.
Yeah. And so really it's just I've always been a movie kid. Like I've always been, like I said in high school, I didn't really have a whole lot of friends and I got picked on. So when people are like, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" And I'm like, "I'm sitting at home watching TV," like
Yeah, I hear you. We should every Friday night we should do the whole pizza and a movie thing. We go to the rental store because they had rental stores back in the day. We didn't really, we owned some movies, but you go rent to whatever movie, Blockbuster or whatever it was. Go get it. We get a pizza, Little Caesars, hook it up, and then go get pizza and a movie. That was like our Friday nights. I mean, I was such a dork back then, but that was my life growing up. And I get that. I relate to you. I get that. I totally do.
Yeah.
So when you do your podcast, I do notice that your show is a solo show for the most part. Do you ever have guests on your show?
I did one time, and that was one of my good friends. His name is Kevin, and he's kind of like a Star Wars expert. And I think it was for my 100th episode, and it happened to be my 100th episode and like my 1 year anniversary, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, nice.
And so he's my best friend Kevin, and he's the one who kind of like was like pushed me to do this podcast. And so I was like, "Hey, be my guest. You're the one who helped me like do this." And it was the same time that The Mandalorian came out. And so we talked about The Mandalorian because he knows so much about it that like I know things, but he knows a lot of things.
Oh, it's another level, huh?
Yeah, it's a whole other level. And so he got on there and talked, and I want to get more guests on here. It's just I've been so busy lately that I haven't even been able to put episodes out because I'm also a college student. And
look at you.
Overloaded myself this semester and took like 4 classes when I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, well, with like 15, 30 units, what do you got going?
Yeah. Well, I'm done now. That was last semester.
Oh,
Now I'm focusing just on one class, and it's not nearly as bad as, this professor is super chill, super relaxed, like do the work whenever you can. I don't care,
Oh, that's great. That's the way it should be, really, if you ask me. But so, but doing a solo show, I mean, I've done solo shows here, and I know it's not easy to do. So how did you overcome like creating a solo show? Like, how do you do a solo show? Because a lot of people can't do them.
So I kind of come up with a script. I do a whole lot of research. I type up everything that I'm going to say, and I'm actually kind of like reading it more than I am just like on the fly talking. But I'll just have like, I don't know, maybe just a little sentence or whatever, and then just kind of improvise and continue off of that. That way I get all my points and I don't stray and I don't have an ADD moment and start talking about other things.
Oh, I know that one. Not too well. Yeah.
And I've also kind of I learned this system to where when I record my podcast, I do it all at one time and I don't edit my podcast. So if I say something, and so like, let's say I screw up saying something, I'll just go back, re-record it.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what but it's kind of like you are editing, but you're editing on the fly.
Yes, exactly. So I guess, I am editing. It's just as I go, as opposed to having 2 people here or 3 people here. And you can't really stop a podcast when there's multiple people here and re-record it. You can't be like, "Hold on, everybody, stop."
Yeah, let's say that again. Let's take 2.
Yeah, let's try this again.
Yeah, that's the one thing I like about when I do a solo show. I learned that quite early is that I would say something and be like, that was so stupid, Chris. Why'd you say that? And then I would go back and cut that sentence out, and then I would start over. And then as far as the audience goes, they don't even know nothing happened. As long as the edit is kind of like, clean enough to where like I finish one sentence and start another. It's not in the middle of a sentence, kind of a thing. So that's kind of what I do and if it's really bad, I'll cut back a couple sentences and I'll retake that and do it again and I kind of run through things. But as far as like reading a script goes, I don't really do that. I just kind of like have ideas and I kind of will just run them into the microphone. And if I like the way it came out, then I'm like, yeah, it's good. Let's keep that line. Let's go for the next one.
I at least, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please go ahead.
I at least have to have like key points to like stay on track because like I said, I have ADD. Like I'll be talking about something and then I will stray. I mean, even in my podcast, if you listen to it, I'm like, oh wait a minute, I kind of strayed for a second, and I'll like go back to my script and my little key points, and so I just kind of I go on tangents or whatever about something that has nothing to do with my topic for that day, and so I got to bring myself back.
Yeah. So being that you have your podcast, I mean, most podcasters have some form of social media, and you have a couple of different forms. Where are you? Where's your social media? Where do you use a lot? What's your main platform?
My main platform is Twitter. I'm really close to 7,000 followers on Twitter.
What?
I think I'm like
7,000?
Yeah.
Wow. How'd you do that?
So a lot of people ask how I do it, and to be honest with you, supporting other people is how I do it. Like supporting other podcasts, getting out there and talking to other podcasts. And, you hear a lot of people say things like, you don't want to push other people's podcasts, or, you have people with master classes who are like, you only want to push yours and you only want this and you don't want to follow other people. And I don't believe in that whole theory. I love to help other podcasts, especially small ones who say like, oh, I only have 100 followers. I'll like tweet at them and say, hey, go follow these people. And so really my main thing was just helping support other podcasters. I also kind of post a lot about my personal life on there as well.
Yeah. Now I hear that really helps for podcast marketing a little bit. Have you found any results with that?
Yeah, actually. So I am also kind of going to school for marketing, and podcast marketing is completely different from other marketing. But what I've learned is, like, let's say you have your logo or you have your podcast cover art or whatever the case may be. It's nice to at least put your picture on there sometimes. It doesn't have to be an amazing picture. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to get all in a suit and tie or whatever. But people like to see a face behind the podcast, that there's actual a human being, like a human living person behind that. And so I'm very selective about what I put on about my personal life, but it just lets people know that like there's actually a human being behind this podcast.
Right. Yeah. It kind of grounds. I think people like people, and I think people are attracted to people, and people are attracted to personalities.
Right.
And I think that's what really helps sell the podcast. Have you noticed a big swing in, downloads, or perhaps a swing in subscribers to like your social media platforms?
There's a good swing in subscribers, and then there's a good swing in like getting to know your listeners, because I love to get to know who's listening to my podcast. I love if they have a suggestion, if they whatever. I love being able to talk to them, and they love being able to talk to me. And they'll be like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Hey, can you do a podcast about this? And if I haven't seen it or if I haven't watched it, I'll watch it and I'll talk about it. So it kind of helps me. I'm a people person to an extent. Like if I go out to a bar or whatever, I hate crowds. I don't people. But if I'm on a computer and I'm behind a screen or whatever, I will talk to you for days, Right.
That's kind of the podcaster in us all, we're kind of introverts for the most part, I think like when I go out, I have my Podtastic Audio shirt on and I'll be ready to, but I won't say nothing to nobody.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But on here, it's a different story. So, that's great.
Yeah, it just helps you get a personal relationship with your listeners, and you get to know them, and and that's also a fun part, and that's also the great part. there is kind of a downfall to it where you get people who are kind of like pushy. They'll be like, talk about this. I want you to talk like, or
Like try to like run your show for you?
Yeah, like they'll like, you have to talk about, and if I'm like, oh no, I don't really talk about that stuff, they get mad. They get angry.
Have you had any guests come on your show, or any people try to get on your show that talk about something not related to your content?
Yes, I get that on Twitter all the time. They'll send me a message and be like, "You need me, like I'm going to be on your show on this day or whatever." And I was like, "Hold up. Like, that's not how this works." Yes, they like already planned it out, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, this is not how this works." Because I like to listen. Like I said, like I've already listened to your podcast, so when you asked me, I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." I learned my lesson very early on being on someone else's podcast without listening to their podcast.
Oh, what happened?
Nothing bad happened. It was they didn't have a great one, and it ended up more me being the host of their podcast.
Way.
Yes, because you have people who. They're not a big podcast. They're not anybody that you know or anything like that. They're just super dry. So you know how you kind of have to like bounce off of each other. And so when he asked me a question, I'd be like, "Okay, so how do you feel about that?" And they're just like, "It's cool." And that that was it, So it was just, there's moments where it was like silence and it was just like quiet and moments of silence. Yes, silence makes me awkward. So, or like feels awkward. So I'm in there like I'm a talker. So I'm just talking away.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm the same way too. I feel you. I did the exact same thing. So I was on an interview once and he never released it because he never told me he released it. So I said, just let me know when it's out and I'll share it, whatever. Right? It's been 6 months. I haven't heard nothing still. And I remember the interview was kind of flat and boring. And the guy even like asked the same question twice. And I was like, you already asked me that, but I guess I'll give you the answer again.
Right.
Because he was obviously just reading a piece of paper. He's like looking at the sheet, reading the paper. And I guess he lost his place on the sheet or whatever he was doing.
So funny.
So there was no back and forth. There was no extra fluff. There was no, follow-up questions. There was none of that extra stuff that you would have like in a normal conversation. And I think when you do an interview, and if you're doing interviews, is to try to make it more conversational style and less job interview.
Right, exactly.
Because no one's listening to a job interview. I mean, it sounds brutal and
it's not fun. Yeah,
it's not fun to listen to. I'm always considering what the listener will get from this and what their experience will be when they hear this. And I'm always thinking of them first, and I always try to bring value first. And that's the thing too. When you invite a guest on your show, always don't think big name. Think big value. A big name means nothing if they don't bring any value. You can have, I don't know, think of your biggest celebrity you can think of on your show, but if they bring no value, then it does nothing to anybody.
Exactly.
And, because XYZ big celebrity, if they're on your show, they've been on 1,000 other shows, and chances are more people are listening to those shows than listening to your show. So, right. I don't even care about big celebrities. I'll have somebody, as long as they bring value, that's it. But other than that, I'm not a name chaser at all. Like I could give two rips. People say, "Oh, I got such and such person on my show." I don't care. What's that do for me? Does it do anything for me? It does nothing for me. Actually, it does nothing for you too. So I don't know why you're so excited about it.
Right. So, but I love it when someone is like, "Hey, I got I got this person on the show. Does anybody have any questions that they can think of to ask them?" And I love that. Like I'll respond and I'll be like, "Hey, ask them whatever that had to do with this movie." I think one podcaster got someone who was like on the set or something like that of Jaws, I think. And so it's like, ask him if they really need a bigger boat,
Oh,
like,
right.
So it was just fun. It's fun when people say, "Hey, I'm getting this person on the show. What do you want to ask them?" And if they do ask those questions, that's cool. If not, then, that's cool too, I guess.
It's fun and all. But I don't think, for me, I don't think you need to rely on guests to have a show, but some people do because, like you said, solo shows are a little trickier to do than that's why I think I call it the chat cast is so popular. It's when two people get on and they just start talking because they're friends or they're best friends or whatever, and they start rambling about whatever, and they're not as focused. maybe a little bit, but it's still like, it's harder to do a solo show. Trust me, my first time doing a solo show, I was like so nervous, and I was like, I think I went through it a little quickly. I ran it through quick, and I was kind of like
Right.
fumbling over things. I still cut and edited stuff, but I
Yeah.
think it's different when you're actually facing somebody face to face here, and you actually can talk
Right.
to somebody right to your face, and you can like bounce things off. And there's a different kind of there's a different energy in the room when you're with somebody talking
Exactly.
face to face. So I think that's fantastic. Now, have you always just stayed in the like movie pop culture lane with your podcast?
Pretty much. I mean, just because, like I said, I've always been that person who I get excited when movies come out. I'm a movie person. And, like I forgot what Star Wars movie it was. I have a friend that makes fun of me. We actually tried to do a podcast together like a long time ago before I was even Nerd in Texas. And we tried doing a podcast together and it didn't work out. But I used to have a friend. We're kind of not friends anymore.
Oh,
You make fun of me because like I am the type of person where I will go to the movies and see a certain movie like more than once just because I love the movie theater experience.
Yeah, there's something about it. Now, are they because out here they're closing a couple theaters. Are they closing theaters out by your place?
No, we're actually like okay, so like I said, I live in a small town and I live out in the country and we like just now got our first pizza place, like our pizza delivery place,
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
actually, so where you live, there's not a lot of delivery services to your house?
Right. And so
Oh, you are in the country. My gosh.
Yeah, but our small town is getting built up. Like we are getting things now. And so they are planning like to have a movie theater and stuff like that. But we do have like I have Alamo Draft House that I love. That's like 15 minutes away from me. And we also have like a Cinemark that's when I say in town is like 15, 30 minutes. So, I have, so like I said, I have the 50 acres and then I have 3 houses on it and I have family members who live in the 3 houses. So I'm always like sending a text like, hey, I'm going into town. Anybody want anything? Cause like,
Wow. It's
we
really,
don't-
it's like a big deal.
yes, it is a big deal because it's just,
It's like little house on the prairie, It's like you get
Exactly.
the wagon and the horses. Do you even have horses at you live? I know you have to, right? It's like you have to have horses, right?
I used to. So when my dad was alive, we had horses and cows and stuff like that. And then when my dad passed away, it got a little too hard for me and my mom.
Oh, yeah.
But I still have chickens and
Look at that.
Yeah, I
Were
have
you selling the
chickens.
eggs for like high dollar?
Actually not really, but because my daughter plays softball and her softball coach, she says she does pitching lessons. And so sometimes like when eggs are really expensive,
Yeah.
she's like, just bring me a carton of eggs and you're good. Like you don't have to pay.
Of course. Yeah, totally.
You don't have to, because it's like $40 a lesson. And so this like one lesson, I think it was during the pandemic where we were out of so much stuff because we're, like I said, small town, all the
Right.
stores were out of stuff. We were like out of toilet paper, out of milk, out of like all these things at the stores. And so she was like, bring a carton of milk. I'll teach her. I'll do the lesson and you're good. Or the carton of eggs and we're
Right,
good.
yeah.
And so I also have like a little garden where I'm growing like pickles. Well, not pickles, but it's called a pickle bush, but it's just cucumbers that are like for pickling.
You know what? If there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm going to your house because you're all set
Everybody says. Everybody says.
You are
It's
set
so funny.
up. Good to go.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
your bunker and your rifles, you're good to go.
Totally.
We're all set up. So your podcast is all about movies and movie fun stuff. Shanel, would you like to play a little guess this movie trivia game?
I would love to.
Okay, so here's how the game's going to work. I haven't done this game in a long time, but basically the way it works is this. It's very simple. I've got 10 different movie clips here loaded into the system. And basically, I'm going to play you the audio of this movie. Now, it's a very popular. There's nothing obscure in here. I know you've seen all these movies. I knew for a fact you've seen all these movies. So all these movies are pretty common movies. And basically, I'm going to play the audio of the movie. You have to tell me which movie this
came from?
Yeah, this came from. But before we wait till the clip ends before you answer. That's pretty much all there is to it. So if you guess it right, which I hope you should, you'll hear this. But if you get it wrong, you'll hear this. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I feel like I'm an actual like a game show. This is awesome.
I know you win the big grand prize, which is a big trophy.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Trophy of the year.
Yeah.
It's the podcast movie trivia game trophy award.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready, Shanel?
Yes.
Okay. Here is your first clip here.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
So of course it's Star Wars,
Which one?
and it's so the number order. That's the one thing about Star Wars that confuses me is like the number order.
Well, there's what? Do you know the name of the movie though?
Empire Strikes Back. Yes.
There you go. Easy peasy. All right, you got one down. Yeah, that was like I had to give you a softball. So
yeah, totally.
All right. Now I'm gonna kind of keep it in the same genre. So here's the next one. You ready?
Okay.
Outrun them!
We might! In that quad jumper!
We need a pilot!
We've got one!
You! What about that ship?
That one's garbage! The garbage will do!
Okay, so is that one The Force Awakens?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. You're killing this. You're a natural. I figure in the Star Wars universe, this is your world. I figure so.
My cup of tea. Yeah.
You're killing it. So we're gonna branch out a little bit. So, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
So that's the first Back to the Future movie, right?
That is correct. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
I was
good
like,
job.
I heard Back to the Future, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'd be able to say like which one it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, because he kind of figures out like, oh, wait a second, like he's kind of him figuring it out, like as he unveils the time machine, that sort of thing. So awesome, you're killing it. You're crushing this.
Yeah,
amazing. All right, you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Here we go.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck. Hang on a second. Wow! Wow! Does it feel good to be out of there? I'm telling you, nice to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, where are you from? What's your name?
That is the original Aladdin with Robin Williams as the genie.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, yeah, I cut it off right before it unveils his name so it doesn't like give it out in the thing there. So that's how I did that. That was a great movie, by the way. I never saw the sequel.
Was.
Did you see the sequel? I never saw it.
I did, and I didn't really like it.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not the sequel, the remake. The remake with, was it Will Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of remakes, although I did see The Little Mermaid over the weekend. And I actually liked it, I mean, it is what it is. It was funny, though. You're watching it, and you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. Oh, I know what's going to happen next. It literally followed every scene.
That's
the way they do those kind of movies, I'm guessing. So
my oldest daughter, she's 16, like she went and saw it with one of her good friends on her, her friend's birthday. And so she comes home and she's talking about it and she's like, and I'm not going to give away the end. And I was like, I already know what happens.
Pretty much. I mean, it's a little different,
no spoiler here.
Yeah, it's a little different, but it's actually not, but you get the idea.
I was like, let me guess. She defeats Ursula and she becomes a human. And she just got so much.
You've seen it? No way.
And I was like, hey, spoiler alert, Titanic, the boat sinks. She's like, Mom, stop.
What? No way. I had no idea. Wait, and the girl survives? How is that even possible? Well, she was telling the story. I mean, obviously.
She never threw the necklace in the ocean? What?
Yeah, she lived a wealthy life, cashed in on that money.
Right.
Okay, are you ready to keep going?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Here's the next movie.
We're the same, you and I. We're just a couple of hot-headed fools.
Yeah, same. Hulk like fire, Thor like water.
Well, we're kind of both like fire.
But Hulk like real fire. Hulk like raging fire. Thor like smoldering fire.
That's Thor Ragnarok.
Yes, that's probably like one of my favorite Thor movies. Although I did check out, I didn't see the most recent one or the one after the Love and Thunder. I didn't see that one. Was it any good?
It's good and it's funny, but like I liked it, but I didn't like it at the same time. And then you end up finding out that like it's from the point of view of the guy who's like the big rock guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the Australian accent or the New Zealand accent, that guy?
Yeah. So, he like I guess it's from his point of view. So it's kind of like that, but it doesn't really say that in the movie. So you're kind of watching this and you're like, what is happening? And then it wasn't until like I did some research that's when I found that out. But like you could at least say like, hey, this is from so and so's point of view. And I mean, because he does like show him like telling stories to little alien kids in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's just they didn't really make it clear, I guess you could say. But yeah, so it was funny. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't also like Thor at the same time. I don't know. It was good. It was okay.
Okay. Well, all right. Cool. Well, here is another classic for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Dad! Oh, Dad! Oh, Dad! Ah! Head for the fireplace!
Okay, so it's Indiana Jones, but I don't know which one.
Okay. Yes, it is. But which one had his dad in the series?
Okay, but okay, I really gotta. Can I get a half a point?
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember the name of it. Now I feel it's not the Temple of Doom, is it?
No. It's actually the third one. The Last Crusade is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Dad was in the movie in that one. I like that one quite a bit. It was my favorite movies of when it came out. I watched that thing on VHS over and over and over again. We had all of them on VHS, of course. Back in the day.
Have you seen the preview for the new one coming out?
I have, and I've actually watched some of the reviews on YouTube, and they said it wasn't very good. Right. So some of the early reviews I've seen, I think it was from I can't think of what movie, what online corporation got an early access to watch the movie, and they said it was okay, but it was kind of like lackluster, and I forget their exact review they said, but they didn't give it high praise. But I'll probably go see it though, or at least try to go see it. That's my goal, I like seeing a lot of summer movies, that's my thing. That's like the only time I go to the theater is to see all the summer stuff, really. Right. That's like when the good stuff comes out, if you ask me anyways.
Yeah, it does.
Like I'm spending my $20 on some good loud banging music and banging sound effects and all that stuff. So, Okay, here is the next clip. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Eve.
It's Wall-E.
One of my favorites.
I love Wall-E.
Oh, who doesn't? Who doesn't good Wall-E?
I don't know, but I love Wall-E. And what's funny is my brother, my middle brother, he's very like for the environment and stuff like that. So when he watched that movie, he like totally cried. It was so funny.
Oh, I know. I love that movie, and it's funny whenever we're all little fatzos sitting in our chairs, Zoom chatting everybody. Like, oh, that's like now.
Exactly.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, he's a firm believer. Like this is how it's going to be one day. Like he firmly believes that.
Oh yeah, no one actually meets and they bump into each other, actually touch for the first time, and like what? This is what humans are like.
Oh, there's a pool right there. What? Yeah.
I know. No way. It's kind of fun. So okay, are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Here we go.
How'd you feel?
That's Captain America.
Look at you. Yeah, just killing it. All right.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Now, what are your thoughts on that? That was the first Captain America. Are you a big fan of that one? Or are you kind of like, yeah, it's okay?
I'm a big fan of it because, I don't know, I feel like the first Captain America really opened the doors for a lot of the Avengers and stuff like that. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I feel like it was, about Captain America and his backstory without being too flashy and too like huge.
Yeah, it felt a little more grounded, I think, and that sort of thing. So,
Right.
but okay, are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
Here we go.
That's Avengers Endgame.
I think it's Infinity War, actually, but I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah, okay. Infinity War.
Yes, because remember he was all Fat Thor in the Endgame, and he was like, I want to play Fortnite and get beer and, and all that stuff. Like whatever, you gonna fix the cable.
Yes.
You got beer on the ship. Okay, I'll be there.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like and then Iron Man what did Iron Man call him? But it was just that was a good one. I love that one.
Yeah, I love them too. I love those movies. Actually, after those kind of movies ended, I kind of like checked out. I mean, I watched some of the Spider-Man stuff, that came out afterwards. But I think after that, I kind of like I never got into the what was the one with Angelina Jolie, where they're like goddesses or something.
Eternals.
Yeah, that's what I'm sorry. I watched a little bit on that on Disney Plus, and I was like, what else is on?
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of wasn't into it. I think some of the other stuff, like, I mean, I know I'm really busy, so I don't have time to watch all this stuff. So I have to be really selective. I started watching Mandalorian. I watched a little bit of that when I was sick one day or a week I was sick. I got try to get caught up in that. Watched a little bit of the was it Obi-Wan show? Watched a little bit of that. I mean, I'll try to watch stuff when I have time to watch stuff. That's the thing for me. But then if I don't have time, I can't watch everything. So I try to pick one thing and try to stick with it. Like I used to be a big Walking Dead fan, and I watched it from the very beginning. So
me too.
I stuck with that to the very end, but I haven't watched any of the spinoffs.
Oh, okay.
Are the spinoffs even on yet? Like with the Negan one, is it Negan in New York? Is that even on yet?
I don't think it's started yet. But I was a huge Walking Dead fan too, and then I kind of stopped watching after Carl died.
Oh, yeah.
I read the graphic novels and I knew what like the future was for Carl, and it was such an amazing like storyline, and like let's just say Carl becomes a badass in the graphic novels.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so bummed that they like killed him off that it wouldn't have reached.
Hey, spoiler alert now here.
Oh, sorry, my bad. It's been out for a while.
I say that all the time, like Wizard of Oz, the witch. Oh, spoiler alert,
Spoiler alert, yeah. And so I was just like that just kind of bummed me out that I wasn't like, when you get a character like from reading a book or whatever that you're like, oh, I can't wait to see when he does this. And then they killed him off. And so I was just like, and then I've watched Fear the Walking Dead only because they actually filmed Fear the Walking Dead like a mile down the road from where I live.
Oh, that was that the one? Yeah, I remember. I watched the first like 3 or 4 seasons of Fear, and then I kind of checked out because I think I got kind of corny, and I was like, well, I mean now they kind of the timeline kind of like went parallel to the real show. Because I liked Fear when it was like the beginning, like how it started, like how it all kind of like started, and like a prequel kind of thing. I liked it from that perspective. But once it kind of like got to like a parallel dimension, and now they're flying airplanes they found in the field to fly away from the nuclear bomb, whatever the plot was, I forget.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm kind of over it. I really, I kind of like The Walking Dead. The original cast. And have you been to Universal Studios and you go through the Walking Dead exhibit they had there?
Yeah.
I actually went through that. I took my my kid at the time. I think he was like 7 or 8 at the time. We went through that. He wanted to go check it. I went through that. And he was kind of scared. It was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. So.
Oh no. Yeah. See, so I live like where they filmed it. They filmed here in Texas, and so here we have the Dell Diamond where we have the Round Rock Express baseball team, and they completely like tore up the stadium, and like because I guess they rented the baseball stadium to film the part in Fear the Walking Dead where they are in a baseball stadium.
Okay.
And so they completely tore it up. They had like what looked like apocalypse vehicles in the parking lot, and they just had all this stuff going on in the parking lot. And my cousin actually worked there at the time. And so they barricaded this place so good that you weren't able to see anything that's going on. And they, made it to where you couldn't use drones to check anything out.
Oh, no way. I would imagine. Yeah, because they don't want any of the shots and that kind of stuff. Anybody.
Right.
I mean, you're trying to like create a world that's, just these only people are still left. So, so you have to like make sure that everything. It's almost like when they filmed. Did you ever watch the behind the scenes on the Will Smith movie? What is it called? The one where he's in New York and he's like by himself and he's the zombies and all that. I forget what it's called.
I know what you're talking about, and I forget what it's called too.
But that movie, I watched kind of behind the scenes on that stuff. They used a lot of CGI background. We're talking about a movie with a bigger budget, so they were able to pull this off. So, hey, speaking of movies, I got one more left.
I'm sorry.
Now this is I'm the same way too. So this one is a little different than the others, but it's a very popular, very classic movie that I'm sure either if you haven't seen the movie, you recognize this clip because it's been like used in like. And people make fun of it and that sort of thing. So are you ready?
I think I'm ready, yes.
Okay, here we go.
And one time at band camp, we weren't supposed to have pillow fights, but we had a pillow fight, and it was so much fun. And this one time, we all lost our music, and we were supposed to play the song, but we didn't know it. So we just made it up, and we kept playing and playing, and the conductor didn't know what we were doing, and it was so funny. So, you're pissed about something, huh? You know what I do when I'm angry? I just play some Bach on my flute. It's so relaxing. I learned to do that at band camp.
Hold on,
That's American Pie.
Yes, an American classic. That is a scene that, like, pretty much, like, even if you haven't seen the movie, you recognize that I at band camp.
At band camp, one time at band camp, and I mean, it's something that, like, people quote to this day, like one time at band camp.
Totally.
And,
even if you haven't seen the movie, you kind of know that lines. And some movies, the lines become bigger. I think the movie sometimes, but that was fantastic. Well, thank you so much for Shanel for showing up on this movie trivia podcast game. This is great. This movie clip game, I should say. And you did great. You are a big winner in my book.
Oh, thanks. I'm going to put this on my podcast resume. Like, I am a winner of the movie trivia on Podtastic.
Yes.
Audio.
Yes. Well, you should be. I mean, you are the nerd in Texas, so it's on your name. I can see it right there, your name badge. So
totally.
As we gave you as you came in here in the green room. So, but Shanel, where can everybody find about you and your podcast and all your wonderful stuff?
All right. So I am on Twitter, of course, and all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook. I am on iHeartRadio. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere where you can like listen to podcasts.
It's all under Nerd in Texas?
All over. Yep. All in Nerd in Texas.
You rock that name, Nerd in Texas. Look at that.
Plain and simple. You get it,
That is fantastic. Well, Shanel, thank you so much for stopping by today. I really, really appreciate this. And you have a safe and wonderful flight back home.
I will. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Hey, thank you once again for listening to this episode. And if you know anybody, or perhaps maybe you're on the fence of maybe creating a podcast, and you're like, I don't even know how or where, don't you worry. I will hook you up. You gotta head on over to podtasticaudio.com/easy, and I will personally help you design and create and even record your podcast for you. And I will catch you on the next episode.